Hey everyone, Genome Gaming here, coming to the next episode of my Marvel Strike Force review series. In this one, I'm going to be doing a top 10 video of what I believe are the top 10 best tanks in Marvel Strike Force. Before I do the actual ranking, I'm going to throw two honorable mentions out there at you, and that's going to be Red Guardian. He's not in the game yet, so can't test with him, but he looks pretty awesome from his kit. Looks like he's just going to be like a war character, but still, he looks like, also like Cap, he might be a good, standalone tank zone too. So Red Guardian and Aim Security. Aim Security is just a really good minion on the AIM team. I just don't get that much use out of AIM anymore. But on that team, he's pretty invaluable. So that's the two honorable mentions I like to throw out there. So let's go ahead and go back in descending order, starting with number 10. So the number 10 best tank in Marvel Strike Force, according to me, is RHINO. RHINO does a couple of things. He might not even have made this list, but his most important factor is he helps unlock two legendaries, right? He unlocks Shuri and Invisible Woman with Sinister Six. So that alone really kind of bumps him up a few points. As a tank, though, he's pretty good on Sinister Six, but he's not the kind of tank that makes a good standalone tank outside the early game. So he does pretty good stuff on the Sinister Six. He's got an amazingly high health pool when paired up with Sinister Six characters, but he doesn't have a lot of defensive tools.
Example.
He kind of reminds me of like Juggernaut Light. And the fact that all of his abilities do damage in some way, not that Juggernauts do, but he just doesn't have a ton of defensive tools, so he's more brought in almost for damage and to soak a little bit of heat from the opposing team, but he just doesn't have the tools to really come to grips with a full-time tanking role. But nonetheless, he's pretty good on Sinister Six, so that's my number 10 pick. My number 9 pick, I hate to do this because I don't even have her unlocked. I'm going to have to go with She-Hulk, just from some of the videos that I've seen about her. And she does look pretty stout, especially on war defense. So some good things can happen. I did run across a pretty nasty She-Hulk in real-time arena. So yeah, she can do some pretty powerful things. I just don't have any experience with her, so I can't really rank her much higher. But she probably is a little bit higher in this list. But once again, I barely ever see her, so I don't have a whole lot of data on her. Alright, for my number 8 pick, I'm going with S.H.I.E.L.O Security. S.H.I.E.L.O Security is incredibly good on the S.H.I.E.L.D team, at least he used to be, right? And I actually made a video about this before. He's one of those characters that completely changes how you face down the opposing team, because you can't just start zerging away at the other members, because he's going to throw his auto-taunt up once they drop in the yellow. And a lot of times that can really mess your plans up. So you got to think really carefully when you're dealing with this character on the other side of the board. Lots of synergy with S.H.I.E.L.D, of course. And he actually makes a semi-decent, at least in the earlier games, standalone tank on just about any team, just because auto-taunt is so incredibly strong. So just for the sheer amount of strategy it takes to get through this guy, especially in like higher end raids and like DD2 and all that, he's definitely going to make my list. Falling off, because S.H.I.E.L.D's falling off quite a bit over the last year or so, but actually more like a year and a half, but yeah, he's still really good, and he definitely bears some serious planning when going up against him. Okay, so I'm going to be kind of copping out just a little bit here, because I'm going to include two tanks on this next one, and that's Cap and Hulk. Because on their team, both of them can really do some degenerate things, right? A lot of this also has to do with if they're paired up with Thor. But even if not, because of the speed differences between these two characters, I'm going to focus on Cap more because I like Cap, of course. There's almost always a taunt going on. You have a really low cooldown with Cap, and I would, generally speaking, probably go with his taunt first, and then have Hulk back that up, and then you can almost have like 3 taunts in a row if energy is spread out just so, right? So pretty good tanks on the Avengers. It makes them a much more dangerous team than I thought they were going to be after they got the reworks. Both of these characters also have some justification as standalone tanks on hodgepodge teams, right? Because their kits they just get better with the Avengers. It doesn't mean that their kit is actually dependent upon the Avengers. So that part's really cool. Cap is pretty fast, low cooldowns, and lots of block. And Hulk is basically like another kind of Juggernaut. Lots of damage, super slow, but he doesn't have sticky taunt. Neither does Cap, either, for that matter. And Cap is more like a hybrid tank. He's more like a controller or excuse me, more like a support and tank kind of rolled into one because of him throwing out defense up.
Agreed.
But yeah, good tanks, and with proper gearing, they can actually do some nasty stuff. I actually ran across a 7 red star, 134 or so K power Hulk the other day in real-time arena, and he was a beast. Man, he was hard to get through. So that's my number 7, Captain Hulk. My number 6 is Merc Riot Guard, and this is for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is he's actually, one of the other characters is actually a pretty decent standalone tank. A couple of the tanks on this list are, but he's actually a little better than a lot of them because he's got an inherent block chance. He's got super low cooldowns on his taunt, too. Like every other turn he's taunting, and even more on mercs. But where this guy gets so powerful is in war defense, whatever. It's just a nightmare to go against him.
That's what I was going to say.
Because Merc Lieutenant's constantly healing him. He's like taunting every turn. He's throwing defense up everywhere. And the whole time Passmaster is just eating you alive, right? So just a really solid tank. And he's one of the few tanks in the game that actually works pretty well as a standalone tank as well. So he's a minion character. He's cheap. Go after him. He's a pretty good tank, right? My number 5 pick is Sif. Sif, once again, gets maybe another point or 2 buff just because of what she does. She helps unlock Black Bolt. Also, indirectly helps unlock Ebony Maw. So that alone is worth putting her somewhere in the middle, right? Now, as a tank, though, she is nothing special. She is pretty fast, and you can't really stop her from doing her first turn taunt, right? Once you get through that, she's nothing to worry about whatsoever, but she's pretty vital to give Asgardians enough time to get rolling. And once again, just getting Black Bolt, makes her a force to be reckoned with, at least as far as collecting goes. But yeah, so she's just solid tank on her team, nothing special, but incredibly valuable just because of who she unlocks. So had to put her on the list at like number 5. Okay, so now we're getting into all the ones from here up are very, very powerful tanks, right? And my number 4 pick is probably my favorite tank in the game, and that's Juggernaut.
Wow! What do you know?
Juggernaut is the definition of a hybrid tank. He has good tanking tools, but really his main thing is damage. This guy does an amazing amount of damage, especially when paired up with Brotherhood, because as we all know, when Magneto puts everyone in a little clump together, and then Jugs does his ultimate, you just watch the damage fly. It's huge damage, and on top of, Pyro shredding him with bleeds and all that, this guy is a decimator. If he usually gets around to his ultimate, and everyone's clumped together, usually it's basically lights out for the other team. So, very powerful ultimate. Good passive for the most part. It is a little weird with his tanking, because you can tell he's meant for damage, because if Magneto's on his team while he's taunting and people are hitting Juggernaut, he's filling a speed bar, so his taunt drops off pretty quick. He's another one of the tanks on this list who's actually fairly good as a standalone tank. In fact, he's got the Mystic tag, which is kind of cool. Throw him on Supernatural if you really want to. So he's not just locked into Brotherhood. He just functions the best with the Brotherhood. And there's so much. That's probably the most synergistic team outside of Black Order in the game. I love the way they set everything up. But so he's just pretty good, and he has got a super sticky taunt. You are not peeling the taunt off him. One of the keys to fighting Juggernaut is to slow him or ability to block him before he can taunt. And yeah, he's brutal. Like I said, once he gets taunted, you're not getting through him unless you just knock him down health-wise. But yeah, so Juggernaut, he's my number 4 pick. Okay, for my number 3 pick for best tank in the game, I'm going to go with Colossus. Now, Colossus is maybe even top 2. He is incredibly good, but the caveat being he is only good on an X-Men team, and really only good on an X-Men team with Phoenix. Now, you pair those two up, really, and it is game on, because it's just, you can't get the freaking taunt peeled off of him, you can't get the defense up, or death proofs peeled off this guy. He's constantly re-taunting and all that. It's like they bounce back and forth with Phoenix, man. It's almost like a shield security kind of thing. It's just, a lot of what he does is passive. It's really good. And anyone who knows the pain of, usually happens in Arena, of a Phoenix going wild on you because you just cannot get through Colossus knows the pain of it all. So yeah, when he's paired up with Phoenix, he's definitely top 3, maybe even top 2 tanks in this game. But outside of that, he has no real use. So that does ding him a bit, but it just shows you how strong he is to still be number 3. So yep, that's my number 3 pick, is Colossus. Alright, my number 2 pick, as you can see, is very underleveled, as is most of my Marauders, except for Mr. Sinister, who was like 91k or so, is Strife. Strife, for those of you who know him and hate him in war, I know I do, he is a beast. He's unkillable. You just can't kill him.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
He's got Emma back there too, along with getting heals with Mr. Sinister. This guy has barrier for days. It's so frustrating to try to get through this guy. And he can do big damage too with his ultimate if he gets around to it. Big damage, so he's like a priority target. Most tanks aren't. But yeah, he's such a beast, man. I hate trying to get through this guy. A lot of times on Marauders, I just throw my Black Order at him because they're just, especially on high-end ones, you know, 400k and above, you're just going to time out if you're trying to fight these guys. Even if they don't kill you, they're going to time out because he's in Blitz store, so he's easy to max. But man, is he annoying. So that's my number 2 pick, and Strife. I do want to throw a third honorable mention out here, because this guy is the tank I use above all others, and that's Thanos. Because a lot of times I do use Black Order in war, and I use them in Arena. But outside of that, in raids, I use Thanos in every single raid that I can. He's my favorite character in the game right now. Basically, he's the battery that keeps pumping energy into Black Bolt, right? But his kit is amazing. I didn't understand him too well until I started using him. I got lucky in a 7 red star pull on this guy a long time ago, and I finally got him maxed out, and I can't imagine raids without him now. But he's got it looks like long cooldowns on his stuff, but he's constantly feeding himself energy with kills. It doesn't matter who kills, you know? So he can taunt just about every turn when things get rolling. He can start energy bombing like every other turn. So basically, energy bomb will full heal him for the most part, right? And he's doing damage when he applies his taunt. He's just that good, and really it's his Titan Eternal that makes him so amazing. But, you know, he's only really good at higher gear levels and in certain makeups. He's not just a good plug-and-play tank everywhere for the most part. But when you do plug him into where he needs to be, he's incredible. Doesn't have a lot of defensive tools, but he's got a super sticky taunt, like I said, and he's got basically the self-heal on Energy Bomb. So if you're killing lots of guys around, like in raids, you know, lots of minions out there or whatever especially, he's going to be reloading that Energy Bomb before you know it. So that was my runner-up for honorable mention as best tank in the game, mostly for me, but I got a pretty beastly Thanos, as you can see. So, amazing character. Okay, but I figure y'all knew who this was going to be, especially since I hadn't mentioned him yet. I'd say CULL Obsidian has got to be the best tank in the game right now. This guy is total package.
But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't farm this guy. I'm a free-to-play player. And yeah, I just have to get lucky on orb openings, and that's about it, and hope that he gets farmable someday. They finally made Proxima farmable, so this guy might be getting the Colossus treatment, and we might see him farmable for another couple months yet. Whatever the case may be, he is a monster. Look at him. I've only got him at 3 reds right now. You know, 60k power, but he's still an all-star on Black Order teams. It's so hard to get through this guy. He's a stat machine, and unlike most tanks, of course, he does have a clearing move. His taunt's pretty good. Nothing too special, but he heals up a lot and gains some death proof, so that's good. But this is his damage output. His damage is amazing. Even his basic is really good and it hits hard, right? Calling the Weak is usually good for an execute, but it's actually one of his least impressive things, but it's something to do with your energy, right? But it's payback. He does so much damage on retribution attacks. And you know, with Black Order, of course, you know, if you're touching Thanos or Ebony Maw, forget it. He's going to be counterattacking like crazy. So an amazing tank, an amazing character, and Black Order just wouldn't function without him. I don't know what else to say about this guy. He's a monster if you can get him. But he's not all that great off his team. So I do want to warn people who, especially newer players out there, who think they're going to get this guy and just steamroll everything because he's the best tank in the game. He is the best tank in the game on the Black Order. But outside of that, I'd say characters like Juggernaut and Captain America, like people like that, are just as good, if not better than him. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, CULL Obsidian is my #1 pick. So let me know what you guys think about the list here. Was it way off base, or did I kind of nail everything? It's kind of hard to nuance because so many tanks are so dependent on their teams, and if even a really good tank, if their team isn't doing too well, probably won't make this list. It doesn't seem fair, but it is what it is. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you thought about this video, and if you want to see... Alright, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please leave something in the comments below. Love to hear from you. Any questions you have about Marvel Strike Force, or my list, or just some general ideas about the game itself that you want me to talk about in the future, just let me know and I'll be sure to get to them as soon as I can. So anyway, once again, sorry for the choppy edits here. For whatever reason, both the videos I shot today, the ending got cut off. So whatever it is, this addendum will have to take care of it. So until next time, this is Genome Gaming, out.